Guess what? We have a new book. It's Unit 4 now. No longer is it Unit 3. This is our Grade 1 Decodable Reader, and we're reading our first story in it today. Let's see what it's called. Oh, first story. Go Jones! Go Jones! I wanted to go over these words before we read it. They show us some different spellings for the long O sound. So, if you want to spell O, there's a few ways to do it. One way is just to make an O all by itself. And another way is to put an O, another letter, and an E. And the E will give it the power to say its name, O. So let's read these words. They're in our story. Let's start with the ones that spell the O with just an O. Go. To. Mrs. Gillum, that O doesn't say O. I know. I just want you to be aware that sometimes you'll see an O all by itself, but it won't say O. It'll say oo, like in the word to. This one says so that follows the rule. Go. To. So. Here are some O, consonant letter, E words. Okay, so this one says ode, road, like he rode his bike. Jones, Jones. That E sees the O and it makes him say his name. Oh, Jones. In our story, Jones is the dog. Woke, woke. I woke up. Bone. He finds a bone in this story. Hole, hole. He digs a hole to put it in. Home, home. All right, we're ready to read our Go Jones book. Go Jones. Looks like they live out in the country. There's lots of space around their home. They must live in the country. That's the setting of this story. Jones woke up. It was time to go, go, go. Jones will get Mike. So he's just waking up. It looks like that's Mike sitting on the front porch, or I should say the front step. Oh, Mike has something for him. A little bone. Mike had a bone. This bone is just for Jones, said Mike. It is just for him. Look how happy he is. Jones ran to get his bone. Actually, he's running to get it over here. Jones ran around and around. Then Jones went to dig in the sand. Dig, 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 dig. He's making a hole, isn't he? Jones dug a big hole. What will go in this big hole? That's a question. The bone that Mike gave Jones will go in it. So that's the answer to the question. What's going in the hole? The bone that Mike gave Jones will go in it. But look! A big, big bone is in the hole. It is such a big bone. Look, there's a question mark right there. I wonder what questions Jones has about this big bone. Can I read those questions? Can Jones dig it up? Can Jones carry it? Looks pretty big. Probably if he gets it out, it's going to be as long as he is. But let's have a look. Oh, he's running off. Jones went home to get Mike because the bone was so big. Mike can help Jones dig it up. Jones ran and got Mike. Mike dug and dug. So did Jones. Jones rode home with a big, big bone. It is really big. Look how proud he looks. And he looks proud too. Sometimes when you do something hard, like dig a hole, and it's sort of hard, you really feel accomplished afterwards. It looks like they live near the beach. Hmm. What can that big, big bone be? Looks like Mike thinks it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And it looks like Jones thinks it's a Stegosaurus. Okay, so now we've read it once. This time, or I've read it once to you. This time I will read it in a small voice and you read it with me. Remember, you don't learn to read unless you practice. Okay, ready? What's the name of our story? Do you remember that word? Do you remember it? Go. Go, Jones. Hey, these two look the same. What does that say? Right. Jones woke up. It was time to go, go, go. Jones will get Mike. Mike had a bone. This bone is just for Jones, said Mike. It is just for him. Jones ran to get his bone. Jones ran around and around. Then Jones went to dig in the sand. Jones dug a big hole. What will go in this big hole? The bone that Mike gave Jones will go in it. Hmm? But look, a big, big bone is in the hole. It is such a big bone. Can Jones dig it up? Can Jones carry it? Jones went home to get Mike because the bone was so, so big. Mike can help Jones dig it up. Jones ran and got Mike. Mike dug and dug. So did Jones. Jones rode home with the big, big bone. Oh, I forgot to color that question mark right there, but this is a question, so make our voice go up at the end, okay? What can that big, big bone be? Could be a Tyrannosaurus Rex. It could be a Stegosaurus. Okay, well that was a fun story. Thank you for reading.